Okay, but let's move on. Since we're talking about Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met the heads of public sector banks to take stock of the credit outreach program. Mrutyunjay Mahapatra, the MD and CEO of Syndicate Bank, joins on the phone line to talk more about that meeting. Mr. Mahapatra, thanks so much for joining us. If you can tell us what the key takeaways were, and in terms of this credit offtake, it has been very low for banks up until now at sub 10%. Do you see any pickup over the months to come?
Good morning. The main discussion points were on several issues, which included, of course, the credit offtake and the results of the first phase of the outreach program. However, we also discussed, how to expedite the IBC as an effective mechanism for resolving corporate insolvency or corporate NPAs. We also discussed around, helping the MSME sector, quickly realize their receivable from the corporates, because in a time like this, corporates generally postpone their payments to the MSME sector. So from the Corporate Affairs Ministry, we decided that we will take the data and make proactive offers to those people who are having receivables from the corporates to go ahead and do that. However, the credit offtake, whatever you were telling, is probably because your data points are around the net credit offtake. What we were discussing yesterday and before that among senior bankers is that the net release to the corporate sector has in fact been quite robust. However, the corporates are deleveraging a little, so the repayments have also come in. So the net credit growth figures probably are not showing a big number. But however, the public sector banks as a whole have grown by around 7% year on year, which is not a bad number. So I believe that credit offtake, which generally based on past trends is leaning towards the second half of the financial year, has started picking up, and it will do better.
Okay. Can you give us some color on this 81,000 odd crores that were given away as credit in the 9 days, October 1 to 9, in those, I think, 250 loan surveillance? What was the breakup, at least in your case? Was it home loan? Was it consumer loan? What color can you give us?
No, in Syndicate Bank case, the 81,000 crore is around 65 retail, MSME and agriculture, as we call it, RAM sector. And the remaining 35 was in the corporate sector. And out of these 35%, 85% growth happened in the NBFC, directly or indirectly, through the pool buyout or through the, direct lending and direct lending under the window of on-lending to MSME, agriculture and retail. So,
okay. So on-lending was one and pool buying was the bulk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. From the corporate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You said that one of the big things you discussed at the meeting was helping the MSME sector recover money from corporates, which has been the big issue over the last many months. Syndicate Bank has about a 14% of loan book exposure to the MSME sector. How is the situation on the ground currently, and do you see more asset quality pressure there?
Asset quality pressures are not, not anything different in the last 3 or 4 months, because the MSME sector, in fact, some of the very large corporates themselves are, kind of operating at between 65 to 75% capacity, because the capacity expansion, what we have seen, which creates, an exponentiation in the demand factor happens when corporates plan for additional capacity. So that additional capacity addition is not happening, because typically corporates plan for additional capacity around 75 to 80% of the capacity utilization, and it is below that. So MSMEs, to that extent, we are not seeing a terrible amount of pressure, but they are operating on an even keel. A little push that side or that side, this side is required, because at this point in time, if the corporate starts postponing their payments to the MSME sector, MSMEs do not have staying power.
Okay. Okay, sir, I just want to go over your numbers again. You said in Syndicate Bank's case, 35% was retail agriculture MSME and 65% was to corporate. And in that corporate basket, you are including assignment and co-lending.
Reverse. Of the total disbursements that we made,
Yes.
65% went to retail, agriculture and MSME.
Oh, okay.
35% went to corporates.
Oh,
of the 35%, over 80% or 85% went to NBFCs.
Okay. And that was largely via assignment and co-lending.
Assignment, pool purchase, on lending, direct loans,
Okay.
so on and so forth.
Okay. Can you share the amount that you lent in that time?
No, during the first 6 months for which I have figure, we lent around 5,900 crores to the NBFC.
Okay, no, you can't share for the 9 days, the loan Shamiana
9 days, I don't have figures ready, Lata.
Okay, but would this be the breakup generally of other banks as well? 35% to corporate, 65% to retail, agriculture and MSME?
It will be more or less same, but depends on the. For example, we are very strong in NBFC financing traditionally. SBI, for example, is very strong in infrastructure funding and funding of oil marketing companies and funding of
But they won't come to the loan Shamiana, no? Infrastructure.
Who?
The infrastructure guys are not going to attend the loan Shamiana. In the loan.
Let us. I think what we are doing here, as I told you last time also, the difference this time is this is a all hand in. That is, we are requesting large corporates to send their MSMEs and other people. We are asking NBFCs to bring their people. So it is a all hand pulled in to change the perception that there is a supply side problem.
Oh, okay. So you will have given even corporate loans. This 81,000 crore would have included even corporate loans.
81,000 crore includes everything that is dispersed during this period. But primarily, what we discussed was the majority has been to the retail, MSME and agri.
There was a target, sir. Did the government set a target for all PSU banks or for individual PSU banks?
Absolutely not. It was on best effort basis, and it was it was very clearly agreed that no prudential norms or no underwriting norms should be compromised at all.
Sir, within retail loans, how is the demand situation in terms of vehicle loans and personal loans? Have you seen any pickup, and what kind of growth rates are you looking at over there?
The car loans, in fact, few days back, I tweeted a couple of videos from our vehicle loan outreach program. They were telling that, in a few models, especially in the middle range. See, in the lower range, of course, it goes on its own where people upgrade from two-wheelers to four-wheelers. That is on its own, it goes, and that demand factor doesn't see any pull or push impact over the period of time. The large cars where people buy the second car after affluence coming, we are seeing a little, kind of a slowdown. But in the middle sector, fortunately, there is still a waiting period. Some of the 6 to 9 lakh rupees range cars, which have been newly launched, both by Maruti as well as by the Hyundai. There is a large waiting period of 4 to 6 weeks. So that means we are seeing good, and we are expecting that the vehicle loan itself will grow 15% in the second half.
Okay. Mr. Mahapatra, just for a couple of more macro numbers, you said you have given 5,900 crore of fresh loans in the first 6 months. What is your likely loan growth number? Because, as you say, corporates are deleveraging and money is coming back. What was your loan growth in the first half? And what is your likely expectation for the second half?
First half numbers, Lata, unfortunately, we are waiting for the results to be published.
Okay.
So it's difficult for me.
Would it be better than the RBI average? I mean, the all-industry average of 8.8?
Much better than the first quarter. Much better than the first quarter.
Okay.
And we are seeing, also that the MSME growth, which kind of was in the negative territory in the first quarter, will be in the positive.
Okay, and non-housing loans, you did mention that there is a pickup that you're seeing as far as vehicle loans are concerned. On housing loans, do you see more delinquencies? I mean, do you see further asset quality pressure because of what's happening, because of how challenging the environment is?
No, our housing loan book, if you analyze, there are two ways that I analyze my housing loan portfolio. One is that first-time house loan takers or first-time house owners. In that, there is no default. Absolutely, I think it is 0.25%, which is missing, and even that 0.25%, we get it back. The second is where the affordable housing or the new housing going in. There is a good demand, because both in the tax front as well as in the we have been pricing for the last 1 or 2 quarters. The banking sector has been pricing affordable housing at a more premium kind of a rate, that is at a discount to whatever the larger housing loans get the rate at. So that is also we are seeing good pull. What we are not seeing still is the selling of the unsold inventory in the 2 crore plus category. That we are seeing some slowdown.
Homes, okay. Slippages, you did 2,300 crore in the first quarter. Would it be any less in the second quarter?
Second quarter slippages net slippages will be better. But again, as I told you, this is price sensitive information. So we'll not be able to share, because in 10-15 days we are getting out the results.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Mahapatra, thank you very much indeed for joining us with your take on what happened at the loan Shamianas and how is the credit picture. We have to take a break on that note, but Arun